Good. So now, now I just wanted to start. Now I have to click. Cervantes is very late. So now, okay. Now, officially, ladies and gentlemen, very warm welcome to the second part of the Mastering the Mental Game. First of all, I'm really pleased and happy to see all of you coming live. So the topic money, I assume, that we're going to talk about today seems like kind of important to everyone, obviously, right? But we gonna really, let's see how long it will take, but we really gonna dig deep and dive into that topic, money. So in terms of agenda, right, we covered last time, again, we just do just a quick review, 1 minute. The foundation of our trading, right? How do we treat our business, right? And today we talk about the topic money and provocatively saying that we should stop caring about that money, right? So again, last time, if you guys remember, that's the foundation, right? The mindset, to have the right mindset. Without having the right mindset, sorry, I have to again go through the list and mute everyone and trying to switch off the camera. Guys, please make sure you don't have anything switched on. Thank you very much. So again, last time we talked about how do we treat our business, and this is the foundation. And you remember, if you look at the scale from 0 to 10, where do you feel currently, where are you located right now, right? Are you more on the left side, gambling side, or more on the right side, that you treat that business or treat trading like it deserves to be treated, like a business? And it's all about the right mindset here, right? And the mindset can be easily explained, right? That you have to treat it as a business. That's the right mindset, right? And today we talked about, right, our learning curve. So there are a few people who haven't been, I'm still admitting, and new joiners here. So we talked about the learning curve, how you basically throughout the year, some of you at least treat the trading, starting very excited, right? And then you are very motivated, and then it's like the end of the bend. You see that kind of bell curve, you're having a few losers, or you realize, hey, wow, that's a little bit more effort than I thought. And then you start prioritizing trading a little bit less. And at some point of time, some of you stop for even like month or weeks completely, right? And then they are again thinking about, oh, let me maybe try it one more time, start motivated, and this whole bell curve, that whole roller coaster starts again, right? This is not how you can treat trading at all, how you can treat a business, right? That you come whenever you want and you feel like, now I should maybe start trading again, and then you go all in, and then you realize maybe that's again, I lost money here, and it's way too much effort, and then you again stop, right? So it's all about that consistency, and not only consistency in terms of what we talk about today, risking money, right? Having the R's, talking about the R's, but also about spending time in front of the screen, right? The whole business. If you want to run a business successfully, right, you have to have that consistent approach. So today, right, we talk about money, and the question we have to ask ourselves is, well, the why, the big why, like why do we trade? I mean, the answer, right, this could drift into very psychological discussion, but of course, at the end of the day, we do what we do to generate income or to generate wealth or to do both. But ultimately, everything we do is at the end associated with money. Now, making money, right? But making money, but also losing money. Guys, you kind of, I have to say that, please make sure your camera is switched off and your voice is also switched off. Okay, thank you again. So everything is associated with money, making money, but also losing money. And I firmly believe that money, right, that money is triggering literally all bad emotions in us, which can be summarized in being, right, the two emotions that we know about when it comes to trading, being fearful and being greedy. And when it comes to these specific emotions that are only triggered by money, we need to somehow isolate them, right? These specific emotions. So basically, we know now the cause of us making bad decisions in the market, right? And it can be summarized in one word, again, money, right? So what can we do? And that's the, I think, that's the $1 million question. What can we do to remove money from the equation as good as possible to become emotional free, which I like to call the emotional freedom technique? Because think about it. A trade is a trade, right? You put two lines on the chart, two horizontal lines. You draw a zone, right? Where you place your entry, right? Your set, right? Your entry, your stop loss, and your target. The risk that you take can be literally anything in that kind of zone. The trade, though, remains always the same. The problem that I just described is the money part, right? How are you going to treat this trade? Are you going to be, well, let's assume, right, you would risk $10 and I give you a trade. Everybody in the room, very convinced, would just blindly take this trade, right? $10. What is $10? But if I told you, hey, you have to risk $10,000 on the same trade, a lot of you guys would say, maybe I should rethink. Maybe then you get some doubts whatsoever. So the problem here, right? The trade would remain the same on the same product. The problem is always the money. And if we put the money out of the equation somehow mentally, I know theoretically speaking, it's almost impossible, right? But if we can possibly somehow put that money out of the equation, we can act emotionally free and make a decision not based on money. We can make a decision based on what we can see, objectively analyze. So again, on the chart here, you see that kind of scale from 0 to 10. And again, I asked the same question that I'm going to ask last time. Some of you can, and I would really like curious, where do you see yourself right now? Are you more to the left, right? And I'll read that out loud. Or are you more already to the right, where you can say, hey, I'm following these rules and I'm like, in this sense, emotionally free? So are you saying, hey, if we start on the right, I follow a milestone plan, or my milestone plan, your milestone plan? We will talk about milestone plan today as well, obviously. Or do you say, hey, what the fuck is a milestone plan? I want to make money now, right? Are you having a fixed risk size that we call R, right? The abbreviation for risk is R and the abbreviation for reward is R. So we're just going to say R, right? Or do you have a random risk size, right? Are you only scaling up your business once you achieve a milestone, so a target? Or are you saying, hey, what targets? Well, in terms of milestones, I only care about money and just want to become rich overnight. Is your focus actually on risk to reward rather than win-loss or anything else? Or is for you basically, do you say profit is profit and any kind of profit is great? Now, do you also, would you say, hey, I'm here trading, I'm in for the long run, I want to trade for the rest of my life? Or are you having the approach of, hey, the next trade is going to make me rich? Do you have the awareness that you say, I know I have to be patient to succeed? Or are you saying, hey, I want to be profitable very, very quickly? Are you aware of, hey, losses are my expenses and winners are my profit? Or are you following the approach of, I had 4 losers in a row, this shit doesn't work? Because at the end of the day, and this is one of my favorite topics to talk about when it comes to mental game. That's why I sometimes feel like I sound like a broken record. And some of these topics, the next following slides, and I added a lot of slides from the Proactive Investor course, which is part of our application process before you become a student. So some of you, and we launched that Proactive Investor course, that application process. It was last year, or was it? I think it was 2020. It was last year in May. So almost 1.5 years ago. So a lot of you guys should be familiar to the slides and to the topic, to the things that I'm going to discuss today. But maybe for some of you, it might be a good refresher and an important refresher. But and for some of you, this might be maybe rather new. Okay. But again, I apologize in advance. I might repeat myself, or I have repeated myself before when it comes to that topic, but I think it's just utterly important and just the essence of everything we're going to do. Because at the end of the day, and I'm going to read this as well here, if you're more on the 10 side, right, then you literally would say my only expenses in this business are my losses, because we have already that mindset of running a business, right? The foundation from last week, right? The foundation is we are running a business. So a business has expenses. Your only expenses in trading are your losses. And there's no business in the world without having expenses, right? So I run a business and look at my P&L at the end of the year to see whether I run a profitable business. That's, again, the framework for that money topic. And again, think about it. Now, if you follow, and we're going to talk about every single topic in this session, like we dive literally into all of these things, the R's, the milestone planning, the risk to reward, the win-loss ratio, the ROIs, the yearly targets, everything, right? If we only think about like this as a game, in the sense of we are here to achieve our targets and that's it. We achieve our not monetary targets, our targets like the R's, right? Then we can isolate that issue that causes all the bad decisions in the market, which is money. If we just follow yes, I have to achieve my R's, I have to achieve my KPIs, and everything else is secondary. Because at the end of the day, and this is what you will see, if you achieve your KPIs, the money comes the money is there by default. It comes by default if you achieve your KPIs. So again, as I said, some of these slides I took from the Proactive Investor course, but we put a little bit more, I would say, a little bit more meat to the bone here as well. And we discuss things a little bit more in detail. And thank you very much, Sina, for your comment here, and Ella for your comment as well. I really, the next 1 hour or so, I don't want to have a monologue here. Please always jump in if you have something to say, so I can just also read the chat box and intervene, and can just, you know, discuss whatever you have, what you have questions on, right? And I read the comments out loud. Yet, so Sina is saying, yet it's the losses, especially in the beginning, that are challenging on the confidence front. So it is more that you got it wrong on the trade, which can leave a mark mentally, and a pinch on the wallet certainly in parallel. But for me, the mental challenge of losses is the tougher part. Well, that's a very valid comment. Why is that? Because in trading, we will see, right? We are kind of trained from school that we only pass, we only pass if we only the, it's about being the best. And being the best in school, it's about having an A. How do you get an A? If you pass all the tests, yes, but also if you have everything right, a 10 out of 10, right? You cannot make even one mistake, right? It's like you're having 10 out of 10 winners in trading. This is how we are kind of trained when it comes to school. Think about that. But when it comes to trading, we will see basically it's the opposite. We have to unlearn what we learned in school, that we only succeed, that we only get to the best school if we have an A and we have everything right, and right? So in trading, we will see that we can be right less than 50% and still having the best business in the world, the best business results in the world. Because of what? How is that possible? How can we be right less than 50% of the time and we still run a super profitable business? So we can basically be wrong every second trade, or even more often, right? We are wrong more often than right, and we still pass. And not only pass, we are still running a very profitable business. How is that possible? Guys, come on, what is that? I mean, come on, you just have to say, yeah, exactly, right? Come on, really. So because of risk to reward. And I understand that point very well, that it's also challenging for me still to a certain degree, that I hate to be wrong, because you feel like if you're wrong, you made a mistake, or you're just, yeah, being wrong. It's just, we associate somehow with being a loser, right? Not good enough. But in trading, again, you have to change your mindset, and you have to really embrace the fact that, hey, I can be wrong more than 50% at the time. You're gonna be wrong more than 50% at the time. You're going to be wrong, and you have to be aware of that. In the long run, yes, we can have phases where we might be right 80% at a time, 70%, but in the long run, and we also going to have phases where we're going to be right only 20% at a time, right? But overall, in the long run, having a 40, 60, 50, 50, 35, 65 split in terms of win-loss ratio is absolutely realistic, and it's more like it's the norm, right? That's real trading. And we're also going to see why in a second again. So you have to embrace the fact that at least half of the time, every second trade in the long run, on average, you're going to be wrong and you're going to lose. This is your expense. But on the other side, if you win, then we know already, right? We cannot win only one R. We have to win multiple R's to compensate with the loses all the expenses. But we're going to see this soon. It's counterintuitive in a sense. Absolutely, right? And if you don't embrace that, then if somebody doesn't be aware of that, they will not make it through. They will not make it in trading. Very simple, very straightforward, right? So again, let me just quickly quote George Soros. He's saying it is not about how often you're right, and this is what we just discussed, right? It is not how often you're right or wrong, but it is all about how much money you make when you're right and how much you lose when you are wrong, right? And he is clearly right. He's talking about R's, right? When you lose small. The maximum you can lose is 1 R. And when you make money, you should make more than 1 R, because you have to compensate for the losers, right? I hope so far so good. So everyone knows this, I hope. So I'll go through this rather quick, right? And this is just, again, to really clarify the importance of risk to reward. So the trader on the left side, right? Everybody has the same risk profile. Risks $1,000 per trade. Trader A to the left, trader B to the right. Everyone has $1,000 risk per trade, and both follow a strict, right, 1 R 1 R risk profile. So they have, every one of them have a stop loss in place. So they lose when they're wrong, they lose $1,000, right? But the one to the right, he takes profit immediately when price also hits a 1-to-1. And the one to the left, he lets profits run. So you see the difference, right, between win-loss ratio. It's a tremendous difference. So in school, you would say the trader to the right, or trader B, is better than trader A. But when it comes to trading, the win-loss ratio has nothing to do, or only really little impact on your performance as a trader. The key will be always, and that's really the essence of money here, the essence of everything, is risk to reward, right? You can literally have that you're only right 30% at a time, but you let profits run, and you are still running a tremendously great, profitable business, right? So far, so good. Or has anybody any doubts? I think this is just the base. And you heard me talking about this all like already, most probably multiple times. And this is not new for you. It shouldn't be new for you. But as a refresher, again, that you are aware of the fact that, hey, I don't have to be right 60, 70, 80, 90% of the time, and you're still gonna run like a crazy profitable business. And I think this is the right time, just again and this is just from, right, I'm just pulling this now in. This is right, you remember the post, this is Julian's, when was it? 1 month ago, right? This was 1 month ago. And I'm gonna bring this into the presentation several times. When you look at his win to loss profile, right? Even Julian, who has most probably the best KPIs, if somebody has more, this was a month ago, now he must be already at, I think, I don't know, did he mention it last week, where he is 46, 47, 48 R's already. I don't know if he mentioned it. Let me know in the chat if he mentioned it. But okay, insane, right? So, and look at this win-loss ratio. He wins less than 50% at the time. So every second trade, on average, he loses, which is already, by the way, in terms of win-loss ratio, absolutely tremendous success, right? So if you are, and you see, and with that win-loss ratio, he loses every second trade, but look at this average risk to reward ratio. It's almost 3.5 to 1. So almost every winner that he hits is almost a 4 to 1, basically. Right? So he knows that, hey, if I lose 1. But if I win, I make at least 3, 4 R's, right? So this is how he achieved now and will end up the year with 50 R's. So guys, this is just now, if we again make, metaphorically speaking, go back to school, this is the student with the A+, right? This is the nerd who is like, everybody hates, basically, right? All right. So that's absolutely, and you don't, and this is not what we have to achieve. We don't have to end up the year with 50 R's. Yes, we love him. I know he knows, right, how I mean it, of course, right? But in school, right, metaphorically speaking, this would be the person who, like, everybody's like eye rolling again, this guy, right? Now, we don't have to achieve these KPIs, ladies and gentlemen. So no worries, right? We have to, right? We can be more like on a B, B+, or B-, C level, right? This is just not from this world, but this is second year where he achieves these KPIs. So he knows what he is doing. So now, you might have seen this chart as well from the, and you remember this from the Proactive Investor course, that we know for a fact that if we look at big institutions, if we ask, okay, what are the KPIs of big institutions? Hey, we just have to look at their annual reports, and then we know their KPIs as well. And this is Goldman Sachs KPIs, yearly KPIs that you can look up. And every year I've been looking up so far since 2015, and the KPIs, and because they have Goldman Sachs, they have their own trading desk, right? They trade with their own money, not only with their clients' money. Again, is this a conflict of interest? This is a different topic, but they trade with their own money as well, right? With companies' money, and that's their win-loss ratio. So on average, and this was the best year they ever had, 2018, almost a 90% win-loss ratio. But if you look back at their annual reports, then you will see that they are very consistent, yes, but they achieve roughly 80-20, 82-18, 83-17, 78-22, right? That was the previous years. So they're always around that 80-20 win-loss ratio. And if you think about that clearly, if you have the most probably Goldman Sachs, one of the top 3 most influential, most powerful trading firms in the world, only not winning 100% at a time, I would say only in quotation marks, winning 80% at the time, well, who clearly, if they place an order, they make the market, right? They cause the market to go up and they cause the market to go down. And they basically have all the information in the world way, way before we have them. If they only win 80% at a time, think about that. How can we as retail traders who are not powerful at all in terms of, we cannot make a market, right? We don't have all these informations beforehand, or I don't have, right? If you have, please, you can always share it with us. But seriously speaking, how can we then expect in terms of win-loss ratio to have similar results? It's just impossible. Even a 70-30, or even in the long run, I would say a 60-40 is almost impossible, right? So everything around that, I would say, which is reasonable, it's just between 30 and 50, 55%, right? So, but ultimately you have to embrace the fact and acknowledge the fact and be aware of the fact that on average, at least every second trade you're going to lose, period, full time, for the rest of your life. On average, you're going to have winning phases where you feel really good, where you have 8 out of 10 winners and you feel really good about it. You have phases where you have 2 out of 2 winners and 8 losers, and you feel really shit about that. But on average, every second trade you are going to lose. That's a fact. But another lesson here, which is really important, is the fact that you have to keep your risk constant. This is one of the biggest mistakes not only novices make, but also we as the students make, right? That you basically don't follow a proper milestone plan, and you like, and I'm guilty, I'm very guilty as judged here, and I'm doing this as well once in a while, right? It's not, again, I said this last time, I'm not like here, I'm not finger pointing, I'm not addressing anybody personally. I can talk about these mistakes because I have done all of that myself, all of them, multiple times. So that's why I can talk about that. All right. But at some point of time, this has to stop. And we make mistakes once, shame on us. We make mistakes twice, critical. But if you make these mistakes 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, maybe you should just stop trading, right? Or at some point of time, you should realize, hey, this is how I'm not going to make it. Because at the end of the day, you can have even a win-loss ratio of 80-20 if you let your losers run. And I know how this feels if you let your losers run, and we have done this, most probably every one of us has done this before, moving our stop losses or even removing our stop losses. And the market will come back for sure, right? Or who hasn't done this? I have done this. And then it will end up, this will end up very disastrous. We all have done this, I guess. So we have to keep, which is really important, we have to keep our risk constant. And this is where the milestone plan later on comes handy. And we talk about this milestone plan again. Is this so far clear? If you have any doubts, if you want to add any point, or if you feel like you want to share anything just to share anything or me to comment on something, please share in the chat box. All right. Now the topic ROI, return on investment. That is something that drives me crazy, literally. And especially if students still talk about ROI and telling me their ROI. It's literally nonsense. And every active trader who talks about ROI talks nonsense. And let me explain you why. So here I will spend most probably a little bit more time on it. Now, look, you have 3 traders, and trader A, trader B, and trader C. And here we have to clearly differentiate between active trading with leverage, what we are doing, CFDs, CFD stocks, CFD futures, real futures, Forex, major pair, cross pair, even cryptocurrency with leverage, right? Active trading that we do with leverage. The keyword here is leverage. So we have to differentiate between active trading and stock investing, where you don't have leverage and you put $100,000 into an ETF, into multiple stocks and you just let it run, and at the end of the year you make 10% ROI, 20% ROI, or you're minus whatever ROI. That's a different topic. But here we are using leverage. And why is this topic talking about ROI as you're using as a KPI absolutely BS, bullshit? Because look at Trader A. He has an account size of 10,000 US dollars. Trader B has an account size, or let's stick to Trader A first, and let's explore Trader A. So Trader A has an account size of 10,000 US dollars. So all of these, one premise, all of these three traders are consistent in their approach. They have proven based on their KPIs, they are consistent in their approach. So Trader A, he puts $10,000 in his account. His risk per trade, constant risk, is $1,000 per trade. So every single trade he takes with $1,000 risk per trade. So he collects 5 R's, which is equal to, I hope you can do the math, 5 times $1,000, which he ends up with a P&L at this particular time of $5,000. That's his P&L. So if he looks at his RI, or if somebody asks him about his RI, he would say, okay, my account is $10,000. I made $5,000 based on my account. So my ROI is 50%, right? So now let's look at Trader B. And Trader B, he puts a $5,000 in his trading account. He also is consistent in his approach, and he's used to trade $1,000 per trade. So he trades also with he has the same risk profile as Trader A. So he takes the same trades, he collects 5 R's, doesn't have to take the same trades, but he collects also 5 R's. So in his P&L, at the end of the 5 trades, or not 5 trades, it's stupid to say, it's wrongly said, after collecting 5 R's, his account, his P&L shows plus 5,000 US dollars. So what is his ROI? Now you see already, I hope, where this is leading towards. Now his ROI, well, he had a $5,000 account, he made $5,000. His ROI is all of a sudden 100%. Now let's look at Trader C. Trader C, well, he read in a book that you can only take 1 to 2% risk per trade. So he's even more conservative. He says, okay, I read in multiple books, I have to take 1% risk per trade. So, but I also want to take $1,000 risk per trade. So how much money do I have to put in my account? Well, guess what? 100,000 US dollars to take 1% risk per trade, which equals to $1,000. He also takes the same trades. He ends up with 5 R's. So I know because of compounding, you would make a little bit more. That's why I said like here P&L roughly $5,000, a little bit more. And his ROI is only 5%. So what a loser, right? Trader C only achieved 5%, but Trader B achieved 100%. So who is the best trader? Who is the better trader here? So Sina is saying bottom line, they're all equally effective traders, just different trading approaches in terms of outcome. Same outcome, same R's. B. Actually, the point is that they are all the same, right? They're all the same. The only difference is they put a different amount in their account. So my point here is, guys, we are trading leverage trading accounts, right? We are using leverage starting from most probably 30 to 1 up to 500 to 1. So why would you put a lot of money in your trading account if you don't need that to trade? It's like this money is sitting in your bank account. Again, you have to use here a little bit common sense. I'm not saying, hey, trader B has only $5,000, and if he loses the $5,000, he's bankrupt. He has to sell his apartment and he have to live under the bridge. That's not what I'm saying. You have to use common sense here, right? And I'm using always, I expect from you also that you use common sense. I'm just saying that, hey, he has the money, but why would he put more money that he needed in his bank account, in his trading account? It's like you're moving it from one banking account, from one Emirates NBD to a Mashreq Bank or whatever, right? It's not doing anything there. So you put only the amount of money that you need to take a certain risk per trade, or HSBC, yes, Sina, that you only need to take a certain risk amount. That's the amount of money you put in a trading account, not more and not less, because why would you do that? Give me one reason why would you do that, right? So I hope it's clear, similar to win-loss ratio here, an ROI. If you tell me you achieve 200% ROI, it doesn't mean anything. You could literally have $2,000 in an account, have one trade, and you achieve 200% ROI. It doesn't tell me if you're a good trader or a bad trader. So when it comes to active trading, so the only thing now that leaves us on the table here in terms of KPI is what? What's the only KPI that you can now measure that really tells you, are you a good trader or are you a bad trader? It's clearly only your R's. So the formula for success here is, right, to sum it up, is literally eliminating large losses, keeping risk constant. And you have seen on a previous slide what happens if you don't keep your losses constant, right? What happens if you randomly increases? Because if you randomly increase your risk size, the whole measuring KPIs, you basically throw out of board. Why? Because what's the set? How could you measure your risk to reward, or you're collecting R's if now you, for 4 trades, you risk $1,000 and maybe you collected 8 R's, but now you made 4 winners in a row, and now you're getting greedy, and the 5th trade you're saying, hey, let me quadruple that risk because right now I have that winning streak, and instead of $1,000 you risk $4,000, and then you have a loser, and then you basically erased and eliminated half of your profit, half of your R's with one single trade, right? But I have done that, right? Full disclosure, I have done this. I know what I'm talking about, and for sure some of you have done this as well in the past, and hopefully this was a learning for me. Absolutely, it was a learning. Now, the whole milestone planning, right? The whole consistency part, blah, blah, blah. This part, I'll again try to be as quick as possible. So what are now our targets? What do we have to work towards to? So we have to try to have, if we have an average, and again, you see that here, that each winner on average is at least a 1 to 2. You see Julian's KPIs, he has a 3.3 to 1, or most probably it's even now, since he's at 46, 47 R's, he's most probably at 3.5, 3.6, so almost double. So let's make this double. So you see, this is your KPI on average, that you achieve a 1 to 2. Julian has a 1 to 4. And you see then what happens if you increase the R's, your outcome, what happens to the overall collected R's later on. And you see this on Julian's results. Now, if you look at let's assume you have 10 trades. You should have, if you have a 1 to 2, you could even have less than 40% winners. But this is roughly, this is kind of very realistic, that if you have an average risk to reward ratio, taking into account only the winners, right? A 1 to 2, which is the minimum, and which is not really a lot, to be honest, because when we take profits, we should take profits at 3 to 1, 4 to 1, 5 to 1, 6 to 1. But we will talk about this also next time when we talk about what we measure, right? We can only improve what we measure. That 40%, that 40% of all trades should be winners. And then if you say, okay, hey, my average risk to reward is 1 to 2 per month, so you collect 2 R's, right? That's what it means. So average risk to reward per trade, or not per trade, per month is 2 R's based on a sample month of $500 of risk, right? Times 2 R's, you would end up with $1,000 per month. If you project this to 12 months, if you're consistent in your approach, you will end up, right, 12 times 1,000, $12,000. Of course, now since we are running our own business, not every month gonna look the same. This is just a case study, right? Some of the month gonna be tremendously good, some of the month gonna be bad, and some of the month gonna be mediocre. You have losing month, you have break-even month, you have extremely profitable month, and you have just normal month, which are 1 to 2s. Overall, 2 R's. But this is your target, which is basically 24 R's. Again, I repeat myself. This is your target. Broken down per month, it's 2 R's per month profit. Accumulating these 2 R's per month in a year is 24. So this is your target. Now, if this is your target and you are able to keep your risk constant, then you can easily project where you most likely gonna end up at the end of the year and what would be your monetary outcome, your monetary target. But again, the goal or the game here, right? The game is to collect as many R's as possible, keeping your risk constant, and then to see where you end up at the end of the year. I repeat myself again. The goal is to collect, and you see, I'm not talking about money here. The money you see, right? It comes now by default if you play the game of collecting R's. Then it's just a matter of what? How much money is literally inside that R, your risk. Are you risking $500? Are you risking $1,000? Are you risking $5,000? Are you risking $50? This is a different topic. And this comes then later in the milestone plan. But your primary goal should be always, I have to collect as many R's as possible. And your goal is, at the end of the year, you achieved your target if you collect 20 to 24 R's. And now you can do the sample month, and you can say, now I risk $1,000, and you make 1,000 times 2, and then your really return is 24, then you risk $3,000, right? We are talking in a second about scaling up your business, but you see where this is leading to. The trades, again, I mentioned this in the very beginning, are always the same. I talk about my trades. Your frozen orange juice trade is always the same. Your soybean meal trade is always the same. Your cotton stop out will be always the same. Your live cattle will be always the same. These trades is always the same. The only thing that changes is the risk profile per trade. And this is determined by your R, by your risk, by your constant risk. So all of these trades that I just mentioned, you should have taken with the same risk profile. And this is the only way how you can measure these R's. And if you do like cherry picking and random risk size, now I risk $500 on the one here, and wow, orange juice worked so nicely. Now I risk double the amount on cotton. Shit, cotton was a stop out. Now I risk maybe less on soybean meal. Wow, this works nicely. Now I risk, I don't know, triple on. But this is how a lot of you guys are doing. This is what a lot of you guys are doing. You're not trading with a constant risk. And this is always leading to something really, really bad at the end of the day, because this can never work out. So bottom line here is money again. And this is like what leads towards that emotional freedom technique. If we know, hey, the only thing I have to do here, and the only KPI that I have to measure, how many R's I collect until the end of the year, and then broken down by month. The monthly R's actually also don't really matter, because you can have literally 3 break-even months, and then you have an October, like our October right now, where you collect literally half of the year R's, right? So actually, I just a couple of days ago, Marcel was in the office. Marcel is also here in the session, and we basically just went through all the trades that Jan took, I took, and Tobias. Even we didn't even add up Tobias, because he took also a few nice stock trades. So we ended up more than 12 R's only, easily, right? Only in October. And this happens as well. But then we have also months where we don't make R's, which is absolutely okay. But this is trading at the end of the day. Right? But bottom line is, this can only work if you use a constant risk, and the only KPI that you measure is your R's. And then of course, follow a plan, blah, 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 blah. Right? So money is literally here, I would say, infinity, because it's just money. What is money in trading? Right? Money is just maintaining a proper average risk to reward ratio in conjunction with an adequate win-loss ratio. And then money can be anything. But you, of course, don't start with $5,000 of risk, $10,000 of risk. Some of you might, depending on your pockets, right? Depending on your bank account, that's absolutely fine. This is also very subjective. I have to say here, for some of you, $500 of risk seems a lot. And for some of you, it's like 500. I start with $2,000 of risk. I remember from my very beginnings, if this is a little bit of an anecdotal story, I remember one of my very, very early beginnings when I started off trading. Whenever I saw, I remember this so clearly because it happened to me so many times in a very early stage. Whenever I saw $1,000 plus on my screen, and I was still day trading at that time, not only daily income, like literally day trading. I'm not encouraging you to do that, like 5-minute zones, 10-minute zones, 50-minute zones. So some of you might be now, well, I need to do this. No, don't do that. Whenever I saw, like in a short period of time, $1,000 plus on my screen within one day, I was like, shit, I was like starting to sweat. I was like, I have to take that profit, I have to take this profit, $1,000. That's so much money, right? And right now I feel like this is the money that I pay for commission and rollover fees and all of that together, just the fees per trade. So what I want to say is that the way how you perceive money in trading throughout the years and throughout the time will change tremendously. It's like crazy. What looked super big and not achievable in the very beginning After 2-3 years, it's like you don't feel anything, literally. And I speak here out of experience. But that's why we have to literally, I stay here for one more second. That's why we literally here, this part here, we have to slowly approach and not jump from practice for consistency, sorry for my language, screw practicing, I'll move immediately to that bucket here. And then you feel like, oof, maybe this was a little bit too much to handle. And you go back here and then, okay, I have now this, now I jump here. This is not how it works, right? You really have to take this patiently and have to approach this topic really as, with the right mindset, not too greedy, but also not too fearful. Because what I mean with not too fearful, some of you literally, I have also seen that as well, that some of you jump from, okay, now I take $50 of risk, so the next milestone is $100, and then the next milestone is $200. I mean, if this is your steps to achieve milestones, then you need ages to like compensate for, or where you want to get where you, it's possible, but you should always, when it comes to milestone planning, I'll now talk a little bit too much already about milestone planning. I'll stop here and go to the next slide, but I'll pick up where I just stopped, right? When it comes to exactly like get a feel for how much money should I risk and how should my milestones look like. So these are your only KPIs that you measure. That win-loss ratio, I would like to put more like in brackets, because it's not really relevant if you collect your R's, but it's just like, if you have a win-loss ratio of 10 to 90 and you have only one ride out of 90, you can still be profitable, obviously, but then it's most probably the one trade that you made profit was more like a lucky shot, right? So everything between 35, even everything between 30% and 55% is really realistic. But embrace the fact that every second trade you're going to lose in the long run. That's for fact. That's trading, right? Get used to that. But also that your average risk to reward ratio is a 1 to 2 per winning trade. Your average risk to reward ratio is 1 to 2 per winning trade, and you collect per month on average 2 R's. And then the 2 R's accumulated in 1 year. So your yearly target is 24 R's. So now whether you do 20 R's or 18 R's or 17 R's, nobody should give a shit, to be honest. You should still be happy and still like, hey, I made 17 R's, I made 18 R's. Congratulations, you kind of achieved your target. Nobody has to do this. Literally nobody, right? And I also firmly believe that I think I can say that I think Julian is at $500 risk, right? And then he's moving now to $1,000 risk. But I also believe that the higher you go in your risk profile, the less R's you going to make most probably. This is how I kind of experienced, because again, imagine what I mentioned in the very beginning. Now you can maybe relate to that. If I give you if I give you 10 trades and I tell you, you have to take all 10 trades, but you can only risk $10, most probably everybody is jumping in all 10 trades. But if I tell you, you have to take $10,000 risk per trade, then you're gonna most probably really go, again, do a double, triple, quadruple analysis, and you really be more selective. And this is what I realized for myself, that the higher you go in terms of risk size, the more selective you get, because yes, you have to get to a risk size at some point of time that kind of hurts. Otherwise it doesn't matter, because $10, losing $10 or losing $100, why should that doesn't matter, right? Now you can clearly do the math, right? If you say, and we do this we do a top-down approach here. That you say, okay, let's assume you want to compensate your corporate salary with your trading income. Let's just assume that. Whatever your goal is, and whatever your goal is in terms of trading, right? Whatever you want to achieve with trading is completely up to you and it's very individual. But let's assume you say, okay, hey, my long-term goal is to compensate my corporate job salary with trading. And let's assume your target is, hey, $120,000 as a yearly trading salary. Now it's very simple how to get to the point, or how to get to the risk per trade amount that you have to take to achieve this kind of yearly trading salary. So what you do is you take that yearly amount that you want to achieve, in this example, $120,000, whether it's 240, whether it's 60, whether it's 30, I don't care. You do the math for yourself. This is just an example. Hopefully you understand. So you do the 120K, whatever your goal is at the end of the year, monetary wise, divided by the R's, the target, 24, or be more conservative, divided by 18 or 20, but something in between. 120,000 divided by 24 R's, which leads us to a risk per trade on average that we have to take of $5,000 risk per trade. And the last point here, if you say, now if you ask me, hey, okay, Bernd, $120,000 seems reasonable. That's what I would like to achieve. And I'm okay taking $5,000 risk per trade. I'm consistent in my approach. I'm okay with that. So how much money should I have in my trading account? So my recommendation is always, if you take $5,000 risk per trade in a leveraged, right? That's the key. In a leveraged trading account, you should have $20,000 to $50,000 risk per trade, as $25,000 to $50,000 in your account, which is 10 to 20% risk per trade, which is absolutely reasonable. And my mentors, this is how they taught me as well when it comes to, and all of them consistently, and I had more than one mentor in my life when it comes to trading, that in a leveraged trading account, taking 10 to 20% risk per trade is absolutely reasonable. Again, I want you to use common sense. If you have only $25,000 available and you have to rob a bank for that and take a loan, and you put all that money in a trading account, and if you lose that, you cannot pay off a loan and you're bankrupt, use common sense, right? That's not how this works. But if you have money to spare, more than that, why would you put now 100,000 or 150,000 or 200,000 in a trading account to say, oh, I'm only allowed to trade for 4% risk per trade or 2% risk per trade? Doesn't make sense. There's a reason why we use leverage. Otherwise, we can stick to, trading gold as an ETF or something like that. There's a reason why we trade leverage, right? So we can use our money more efficient. And this is what I'm doing as well. I'm only putting as much money as I need in my trading account to take the trades that I'm going to take with my risk profile. Very important. Does this top-down approach make sense? So your yearly target, so the game is very simple, ladies and gentlemen. That's a game for next year. It's nice timing. We have mid of November. Christmas time is coming very close. And now next year, the game starts from zero. Blank sheet for everyone. You start at 0 hours. The game ends after 12 months. and you win the game if you collect 24 hours or 20 hours. This is how you win the game. All right. This is how you win. This is how you pass one milestone or 2 milestones. We're going to talk about milestone plan now at the end of the day, at last. So 20 to 24 hours, however you're going to doesn't matter how you collect them, right? And where you find them and which trades you take to collect them and how many trades you need to collect them. It doesn't really matter, but I mean, it matters to a certain extent, but again, we use common sense here, but that's the target that you have to achieve. And you see, again, we only talk about KPIs, not so much about the money fact, because if you collect these R's, are you going to be profitable or not? Stupid rhetorical question, right? Of course you are. And then it's just a matter of how much you can literally digest mentally. But this is how you then can, okay, I have achieved 20 hours last year. This year I've achieved 18 hours or 22 hours. Perfect. Now let's get to the next level. Now the whole milestone planning. You know this as well for sure. But again, is this the last year? It's the last slide. This is how you're going to do it. This is the framework again, right? Ladies and gentlemen, this is where it starts. And some of you, if I look into the room, very diverse, like very diverse student portfolio when it comes to where you are at what stage you are in your career. Some of you who just mentioned, is Ella still here? Ella is still here. She just started off trading, right, with her mentor, Mike. So this is something, guys, and a lot of you in the room has also mentors, coaches that you discuss with your mentor and you keep yourself accountable. And by also telling him or telling your mentor or discussing, first of all, that milestone plan and discuss what's reasonable for you. And then also discuss, hey, with your mentor, when do I move to the next, when do I move to the next step? So you start off obviously in the demo. The problem with the demo is always to basically, can you really try to take the demo account very seriously? It's a double-edged sword. The good thing with leveraged trading accounts is that we can go live almost from the very get-go by taking a really small risk amount, whatever really small means to you, whatever really like is doesn't hurt. And then you basically go by how many trades, right? The only thing that is discussable is when to move to the next milestone, meaning when do you increase your risk? Do you measure by time? Do you measure by trades? I would measure by trades. You could also measure by, if you have already in the beginning, I would measure by trades and not by time. For me now at my stage, I measure more like by years, saying, okay, this year's I have, because obviously with my risk profile, I don't have to, I'm not willing to jump like after 10 trades, 15 trades, 20 trades to the next risk profile. I'm more like, okay, let's do this for 1 year and then let's summarize and then let's see if I move to the next risk profile or if I stick to the same risk profile, because I'm just, at some point of time, you're just okay with what you take as a risk profile, right? Because it's at the stage where you say, if you lose money, it hurts. If you lose too much, it hurts even more. And this is where you have to get at some point of time. And this is really important. Don't stay too long. I mean, again, this is a double-edged sword. You have very, very quickly, what I learned throughout the years, also teaching, especially while teaching, that you guys have to get to a risk profile that is that kind of, if you lose money, that hurts. This should not, you should not, again, this should not hurt in the sense of now you have to stop trading because you don't have any money left, but it should hurt in a sense of you care. Because again, if, silly example, if you have $10 risk per trade, do you really care? You don't, right? You would just jump in left, right, and center and have 50 trades per day because it's just like a fun game, right? Like casino, because you don't care if you lose. But if you add maybe 2 zeros to that game and you say 10, 100, $1,000, and if you feel like $1,000 risk per trade, yeah, but you exaggerated. To say that, since you mentioned that in the publicly, I told you exaggerate, and I told you that and I also told you before you did that. But I hate to say I told you so. So I just, again, Sina is saying, I'm just saying that out loud. I did that very well with my first few trades I ever took. It hurt quite nicely. Lol. And by the way, if you stayed, if you would have stayed in gold and didn't go out at break even, you would have still now been nicely in profit. Just saying, hashtag just saying. Now, what I wanted to say now, I lost my train of thought. No, I didn't. You have to get to a risk profile really quickly. This is what I learned while teaching. That kind of hurts, not hurt too much, not exaggerate, but that you really feel, and yet you feel also the pain. Because if you feel that pain, that means you care. That means you don't just jump in left, right, and center, and it means that you analyze properly, and you're not just like blindly maybe copy paste. That you really go through each and every trade, you analyze them based on your set of rules, and then you take it with caution. All right. So remember that. I think that's a really good teaching point. Don't stay too long at a risk level that you don't feel anything, because in trading, we have to feel the emotions. In the demo, we don't feel it. Live, we feel it, but then go to an amount almost not immediately, but rather quickly to a certain amount that kind of you feel, that you feel when price is going up, that you feel the happiness. And if it goes down, that you feel the fear, and you maybe cannot, like, you have sleepless nights, right? You have to get to these amounts really quickly and get used to it. Again, always use common sense and find an amount that is okay for you, that you can really digest, that you can comfortably handle, but that kind of hurts as well. It's tricky, it is, but you can discuss it with your mentor. You can find it out for yourself. It's completely up to you. And then you basically, what you're gonna do is, right, you use that amount constantly, right? Constant risk. You remember that, me saying now, I don't know how many times in the session, constant risk, and you take every single trade you take with the same risk, and you're the only game that you think about is collecting R's. And if you collected enough R's, in the sense of you achieved your R target, whatever it is, after 10, 15 trades, 25 trades, or a year, or 6 months, or a quarter, then you're allowed to jump to the next level, right? Like a game. Every level is a little bit more difficult, and it should get more difficult as per the risk that you trade, because it's always a new challenge. If you always stay at that $1,000, at some point you don't feel it anymore, because you get detached. And believe me, I really speak here out of experience. You, at some point of time, you get not completely, because we never get completely detached from the money, but you get somehow detached from the money that you see on the screen if you're trying to embrace that fact. I can guarantee you that. Because if I tell you right now, really like how it is. I had the time 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago almost. Whenever I saw $1,000, I got sweaty and I had to close the trade. And now when I see $100,000 on the screen, I don't feel anything. I literally don't feel anything. And this is not to show off. It's just to say how we become slowly but steadily detached from money on the screen, because it's all digital. So you have to get to that stage where you detach yourself from that from the money factor, because the money is the devil of all our decisions. It is what it is. And I hope you can agree with me. But then you basically just play the game of collecting Rs. So, and by the way, if you feel, and this happened to me as well, you see sometimes it's red here, that wow, now I'm at $2,000 risk per trade. Now the jump from $1,000 to $2,000, this was maybe a little bit too much for me. Now I should maybe go back one step. This is not like a steady upsloped trend, right? This has also some impulse correction movements, right? Like any kind of trend wave formation. You might go back to a risk that you felt comfortable with when you basically maybe thought, okay, the jump from 1,000 to 2,000 was too much, or maybe the jump from 200 to 500 was too much. Completely up to you, right? But because this is very personal, very individual, how you jump from one monetary amount to another. Are there any questions? And then basically, if I go back to slide number 1, you see, we get completely away from money, and only every trade we take because of the money, and we see X amount of dollars on our screen, and we get nervous, and we act irrational, and we make stupid decisions where we next day think about how stupid we could have been, and blah blah blah. We've all been there, right? And it's only because of the dollar bills. But if you handle everything with the mindset of, I have Rs to collect, that's my only goal, I don't have to do anything else, I'm an R collector, I'm not a trader, I'm an R collector. So, and then you achieved X amount of Rs, perfect, milestone achieved. Now I move to the next level. And then again, the game starts from 0 on the next level. And again, and again, and again, and again. Does this make sense, or is this very abstract? I hope this makes sense. For some of you, like who are very beginning at your learning stage, this is kind of abstract, but I think a lot of you guys can relate to that and understand where I'm coming from. And this has all to do with like the mental game, right? Because it's all about money. And the money is screwing with our mental game, with our brain, with our emotions. That's how it is. It's all about the stupid money. So we have to get away from the money, which we call emotional freedom technique. How are we going to do that? Changing the game a little bit from money to Rs, and realize Rs is the only thing that I have to collect, and money comes by default. If you collect Rs. And again, you don't have to be the A+ student. It's enough if you're average, if you're okay, if you collect 20, 24 Rs, 18 Rs, and you will do, and then you will do more than just fine. You can at some point of time make any money in the world that you want, because it's just like, right, the trades will always remain the same. All right. Are there any more comments from your side that you want to share, that you want me, that fits kind of in that money topic? Doesn't look like. I give it 1 more minute or so. If anybody writes something in the chat box. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the money topic. I hope this was not only informative and some people really like reconsider or rethinking the way how they approach the markets, and maybe starting, I mean, it's just coincidence that we start these mental game sessions at the end of the year, but maybe also start the year fresh with like we all start the year at the same level, 0 R's. And it's not a competition, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have to beat Julian. We don't have to. We just have to make 20 hours, 24 hours, 18 hours, 17 hours. And we are doing tremendously fine. We're doing better than 99% of all traders in the world, if we can achieve that, most likely. All right, guys. Perfect. Thank you so much that you liked it. And I'll talk to you throughout the week in the DMOs and in the recordings. And I'll see you next week live. And please be live again. I really appreciate when you are live. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.